Alright, so I had another dream. It was on 3/19, and I was behind a glass door, and all of a sudden I saw this dragon. It was snarling behind the door, and so I put my right hand up against the glass, and it put its claw up, and it almost was scratching through. I could feel it tickle my fingertips, and so I knew that was supposed to go outside and handle the situation. Well, I opened the door, go outside, and the dragon was like roared it in my face, and I just stood there looking at it. And then it kind of backed down. It like knew I wasn't afraid, and I subdued it, put it to the ground, and then I woke up. I read that the devil came in the form of a dragon, and it was the Archangel Michael who subdued Satan, in the form of a dragon, saying, "I rebuke you." So that was interesting. So I had a rapture dream on 3/21 at 9:30 a.m. is when I woke up. But I was at my relative's house in California, and was facing west at the time in the house. And all of a sudden, in the east, it was like a nuclear explosion went off in the distance. There's this huge, bright, flashing light. Everything shook. Car alarms started going off. And I turned around, and I looked up outside, and there are these red and green lights going around, and it seemed like helicopters. And there was a big circular rainbow and these lights coming down through these halo rainbows in the sky, and it was like they were taking people up. And I go to get my phone to text my father, what was happening, and the cell phones, all of them, turned off. All electricity turned off. And so this big earthquake was starting to rattle. All of a sudden things calmed down. I was wondering when this was going to happen. So all of a sudden my phone in my pocket, which had turned off, raised up out of my pocket. There was some energy left. It turned on in front of my face, and I was shown these dates, 21 or 22 through the 28th, and then I heard the words between 9 and 12. I don't know if that was 9 or 12 p.m. or through September through the December, but it's interesting. And then I asked, where is this going to happen? And then I show a little dot in red. It was a little under Denver, Colorado, and it was the National Dunes Park. And so after that, I was looking up, and I was like, that's it. But then all of a sudden, more lights started coming down. And I was like, they're back, they're coming back. And everyone was just all upset. They didn't want to hear it. So I watched this video of this man calculating the rapture and the tribulation based upon Bible numbers, what was in the scripture, and when Israel was signed back into a nation. And he calculated the end of tribulation on July 22nd, 2028, and the rapture happening around the fall of this year, or August 28th, 2021 into the fall. And previously, my other dream, rapture, had happened in November 25th, which was Black Friday or Thanksgiving. And I found out that the fall equinox lands on September 22nd. So all those numbers align with what I saw in my dream. On 3/22/21 at 8:38 a.m. I woke up from this dream or vision. I was flying in the clouds, and I looked down and I saw my shadow, and it was almost as if I had wings that looked like the wings off of a total solar eclipse. If you look at one of those pictures, it shows those wisps. I saw this large platform going out to the water, and then at the end of the platform there was like a hexagon that started to open up. It was like a missile silo, and I had to stop it. And I saw these roads, they were starting to flood with water, and I pointed my sword, and the water was flowing upwards, up the roads. And so I'm at this platform, and this like missile silo was about to open up, and I thought to myself, okay, I have to stop this. And so I went and I started to lunge down with the sword in order to stop it, or pierce it, and I landed short for some reason. I landed in the water. I was surprised, because I was supposed to be landing on dry land. And then I saw these, it looked like Russian words. It was a missile silo, but it was in the ocean. And I found out that Russia has this nuclear boat called the Academic. It's the only floating nuclear power plant on Earth right now. And it seemed like it was a dam, and the dam had broken. I looked up the Russia's largest dam, and it hasn't been doing so well structurally. It had a past episode of being broken down, but I looked at the two towns north of the dam, and they would have to be driving west, and that's the way the water was flowing up the roads in order to get away. And then I came out of the water, and there was this golden staircase, and right underneath it said, with a white background and big red letters, "Wash yourself." And so I went to that first step, and then I awaited my other instructions. On 3/23, I woke up at 1:29 p.m. because I go to work from like around 2 to 3 p.m. to 1 a.m. And I was standing by a large blue house on a hill. It had like 2 or 3 stories. I put my hand on it, and then I saw this vision of these wooden bench symbols in like a pyramid shape. And the bottom 2 layers were in blue, and then the top layers turned red, and they disappeared. And then I was in this long hallway. It was a school, and there were supposed to be lockers, but the lockers had all been ripped off, and there were only shelves left with everyone's belongings on the shelves. I could tell that these people had come in, the janitors, to clean. They placed everything off the shelves and then put everything back on the shelves, but it was all disorganized. Well, I come to my locker spot, and I'm frantically looking for my books, and I hold my books like a schoolgirl, and I see there's like pasta and, just regular staple foods, but everyone had a special food like, preserves or cakes or Hostess. And I looked, and my bag of stewed strawberries was unsealed, open, and half of it was eaten. Everyone was eating each other's special food item that they were saving for themselves, and everyone else was left with just regular staple food. And so I think that was the higher social class taking from all the people and leaving them with just, regular, like, bland foods, pastas, even though, it's life-giving. But they were taking the cream of the crop from everyone, and everyone was being stolen from. On 3/24, 5:32 a.m., I had this dream that I was in my house, and I was told to get up. And so I got up, and I opened up my curtain, and I looked outside, and it was almost as if like this trumpet was blown. It was like a moo, and then everything started to turn into 2 images, like 2 dimensions. And so all of a sudden I was in like, everything was light white. It was almost like everything was toy-like. And so I open up the door. I let my cats out because I'm like, it's rapture time. You're free. Go. And I go outside. I look up. There's not a cloud in the sky. I go in front of a house, and there's these two cell phones. They're facing up, and they have these texts on them. And at the time, I'd grabbed my phone when I went outside. And so I look up, and there's this little dot flying in the sky with a big rainbow halo, and they're going to the east. And I look over to the west, or a little bit more south, so like southeast, and I see these 5 dots come up from the sky, and I'm like praying, and they come down, and there's 5 angels right in front of me, and then they like swoop and fly, and then they grab my arm, and then I like lift up out of my body. So I'm floating up, and I see these balloons. There's this blue balloon, and I'm like, I grab it, and I'm just floating up with this blue balloon, and then I see this large metallic, those metallic balloons. It's like a pink heart balloon. So I'm like, well, maybe that'll help me float up faster. So I grab it, and I feel myself kind of slowing down. And I'm like, what the heck? So I look up, and there's this mist, and it's the roof, and the clouds had gotten low. And I go up through this mist, and then I see this white ceiling, and there's these pastel clear, like square moon circle shapes in different pastel primary colors. And all of a sudden I like bump into the ceiling, and I'm like pressing against it, and it's like a soft cushiony marshmallow kind of feel. It's semi-permeable. And so I woke up, and I look up 532 in the scripture, and it talks about adultery. And I'm holding this, pink balloon, and it basically says, whoever looks upon another person with lust commits adultery in their heart. And so I was thinking to myself, because I had given up, adult content, and then I had slipped up the day before, and I was, and so it kind of matched up. And so, even though I've never been married, you have to give it up. You have to give it all up, basically. You have to cleanse yourself of everything in order to make it up, is basically what I was being told. On 3:25, 4:23 p.m., I had a dream vision where I was a kid, and I was playing with finger paints, white, black, and red, and like I was trying to separate them with my fingers, and I wasn't really getting anywhere, but the colors were staying separate. Well, I go, and I have to go to the bathroom, and somebody's taking a bath, and so I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom, like, right now, like, I'm gonna mess myself. So they said that they're in the bathroom, and then I could come in. I went out, and I was going to the bathroom, and all of a sudden I saw a kid who was like darker skin with curly brown hair, brown eyes, and I think it was my son in the dream. And he had made this huge mess. The water was all murky, kind of brown, and he had ripped up these plants, and it looked like pineapple leaves lined up on the ground in 3 rows of 3. There were 9 of them. And he starts running around like unruly, and he leaves the bathroom getting water all over the floor, and then he comes back with a toy, and I'm like, no, you're not bringing that in. So he drops at the door, and I get him to finish taking his bath. Then I got up and went to my room, and I found a debit card. And it was black, and it was like a cartoon image of Trump. And I went to the store, and I looked to see what the balance was. It was $5,230. And I went outside, and I saw this woman, and she was kind of running, and all of a sudden I see her like being lifted up, but it was very dark, and It was like this building behind her, and it was like a cord had grabbed her and like lifted her up, and then all of a sudden she came falling down, and she hit the ground, and like she couldn't get up. She was all, distorted. And then it was like I was floating above and I was watching, and then I heard her say, "Isn't that enough? Haven't we given everything? There's nothing more to give." And all of a sudden her like eyes went black, and then I saw cuts being like, her body started forming cuts all over. And then she said, "Haven't we given all that we have to offer?" And then all of a sudden I saw her throat just, and then blood, and then I woke up, and then I dreamed I was taking a shower. I just finished up a shower. I was in my grandparents' house up in like the second floor, and I was grabbing my things, getting out of the shower. I was clean and I needed to get dressed, and all of a sudden I hear my grandma say, "Hey, we're going to the fair." And I turn around the corner, and I'm like, "Now?" She's like, "Yeah, now." And so go back around, I'm going to go get dressed. And there's another bathroom, and it's closed, and somebody's like sitting in front of the bathroom, and they're crying. And I said, "Hey, what's wrong?" They're like, "I can't take a shower." I'm like, "Well, I just got out of my bathroom. You can use my bathroom and take a shower real quick." And they said, "No, that won't work. That's your bathroom." And then I asked, "Well, who's taking a shower right now in the bathroom that you're waiting for?" And she said, "It's Trinity. She is taking a shower right now. She's cleaning herself." And then I woke up. On 3/26, 10:35 a.m., I woke up. I had this dream where I was invited to this grand banquet. And so I get there, we're all dressed in fancy clothes, and there's a really long table, and everyone sits down on it. And these waiters start coming around, and they bring all the courses, and then we put our seats back, they place the courses in front of us, and then we try, and then more courses are put in front of us, and more courses, and more courses. And by the end of it, Elon Musk came over, and I think that he was the personification of God, and he says, "Now, here is the final test, final task, and this is $1 million question." And so he says, "Here's the last food item on the menu, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. You have to guess what it is." So he comes around with this a skewer from this big roast that he had in front of him, and these pieces of meat, and he puts it in front of like 7 people. And there's a few people alongside the table, and then I see him put it in front of this girl to the right of me, and then he puts a piece of meat in front of me on my plate, and then there's this sauce, and they pour it next to it. And so I ask, "Can we eat it any way that we want, sauce or no sauce?" And he's all like, "Yes." And so right when I go to eat meat, everyone starts clamoring for the meat in front of me and everyone else who got a piece, because they weren't able to try it, and so they were out of the game. Well, they start eating it, and then they're just scarfing it down like a glutton. And I see a little sliver in front of me, and I pick it up with my fork. I put it in my mouth, and I'm tasting it, and it tastes kind of musky, it was like a pot roast. And so, I'm just like, it's in my mouth, I haven't swallowed it, and I'm just like, and then I turn to the guy to the left of me, and I whisper in his ear, "I don't know. I really don't know what this is. I've never tried it before in my life, and we've just had everything in the world put in front of us." And so I said, "I don't know, it might be giraffe or something." And so the guy's like, he raises his hand, he's like, hey, and then Ellen comes over and he says, I think it's giraffe. And I'm just sitting there still eating, like pondering, and then I still can't tell what it is. And then Ellen says, well, it might be giraffe, considering that almost all the animals are going extinct in your world. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I'm like, I take another piece and I start eating it, and then I can't tell what it is, so I start eating more, and I started eating more, and then I woke up, and let me tell you guys, we had just eaten everything that the world had to offer. It was the last thing that you could eat. And once you start eating it, you can't stop, is what I was told. It was human. It was human meat.